So you're thinking about moving to Langley BC, but you're not quite sure yet and you want to learn a little bit more about what the area has to offer. Well, the good news for you is that you're in the right place, because in this video, I'm going to cover all the pros and cons of living in Langley. And who better to cover them than a resident of Langley himself. So to hear all that and more, you're going to want to stick around all the way till the end, because I have some bonus tips to share with you. And it's coming at you right after this. What's going on, guys? Alex Dunbar here from the Dunbar Real Estate Group and Remax Treeland Realty based out of the Langley area. And in this video, I'm going to tell you about all the pros and cons of living in Langley, BC. But before I get into it, I'll ask that you do one thing, and that's to smash that like button so that the algorithm will push this information out to more individuals just like yourself who want to learn more about Langley. If you're new to the channel, I make videos just like this one every single week, showcasing local communities as well as relevant topics in the real estate industry. And if you're a returning subscriber, hey, hello, happy to have you here. Now, before I dive into today's video, I want to clarify a couple of things. What you need to understand is that we have the city of Langley as well as the township of Langley. So the city of Langley is essentially the downtown core where a majority of the businesses are, whereas the township makes up the rest of the surrounding areas. So as you can see on the map here, the township of Langley is a district municipality immediately east of the city of Surrey in southwestern British Columbia. It extends south from the Fraser River to the US border and west of the city of Abbotsford. Again, keep in mind that the Langley Township is not to be confused with the city of Langley, which is adjacent to the township, but politically is a separate entity. Now, taking a look at the city of Langley, it's a 10 square kilometer urban center located in the heart of the Lower Mainland economic region. With a population of over 27,000, the city of Langley offers residents all the amenities of a major urban center. But I don't want to give it all away just yet, so let's get into it. Pro number one is the housing and rent prices. In comparison to Vancouver, Langley housing and rent prices are much more affordable. Starting off with home prices, Langley detached homes average price at this point in time is $1.965 million, whereas in Vancouver, it's $2.968 million. For townhomes in Langley, the average price is $1.009 million, whereas in Vancouver, the average price is $1.566 million. And for condos in Langley, it's $640,000, and in Vancouver, it's $1.012 million. This means, in comparison, Vancouver home prices are 51, 55, and 58% more expensive than that of Langley. Moving on, let's take a look at the rental prices in Langley. Rent prices in Langley are about 25% cheaper than that of Vancouver. And within Langley itself, the city of Langley actually has cheaper rent than that of the township. On average, I would say by about 10 to 15%. So for a one-bedroom apartment in the township, you're looking at about $1,600 per month, and in Langley City, you're looking at between $1,200 and $1,300. For a two-bedroom apartment in the township, you're looking between $2,200 and $2,300, and in Langley City, you're looking at closer to $2,000. And for a three-bed townhouse, you're going to be looking anywhere between $2,700 and $3,000, again, depending on location and how new it is. And if you're looking to save a little bit of money on rent, it's typically cheaper to rent a basement suite than a condo. So for a one-bed basement suite, you're looking at between $1,100 and $1,200, and for a two-bed basement suite, you're looking at closer to $1,600. Now with basement suites, what I've noticed is there's not as much of a discrepancy between the township and Langley City. You still may save $100 here or there, but again, it's just not as apparent. Keep in mind, with some of the prices I mentioned for apartments, you could also be looking at about $100 extra per month if you need an extra parking space. So units with 2 parking spots are going to go at a bit of a premium. So even though rental prices have gone up quite significantly over the past couple of years, it's still significantly less than Vancouver. Moving on to pro number 2, Langley has a big city feel even though it's a small city. So again, in comparison to Vancouver, there's many more outdoor activities to do within the city itself. Obviously, Vancouver has its perks, being close to the mountains and the ocean, but Langley has tons of great parks and trails. Additionally, there's just less overall density, less high-rises, and thus no concrete jungle. However, Langley does have its first high-rise residential concrete buildings coming in the near future. They're known as the Towers, and they're going to be located in the new master plan community known as Latimer Heights. This is the community of Willoughby, and it's going to change the Langley skyline forever. And it's likely just the start of more high-rises to come. But outside of the major commercial and industrial areas within Langley City and the Willoughby community, there is, again, tons of outdoor areas. One of my personal favorite spots to go is for a walk from the Fort to Fort Trail in Fort Langley. This trail connects the Fort Langley National Historical Museum with the site of the original fort near Derby Reach Regional Park. It's a 4-kilometer trail where you can go for a walk, a bike ride, or walk your dog. Moving on to pro number 3, it's the weather. Langley tends to be warmer and brighter than the rest of Greater Vancouver. Now this is partially based off my own experience as well as some statistics I was able to find, but I've always noticed that Langley is slightly warmer and sunnier than most of the surrounding areas. Even at times this year where the majority of the lower mainland was being covered in snow, I still had sun where I live. Personally, every time I leave Langley going towards New West, Burnaby, or Coquitlam, when it's sunny here, it's often cloudy or rainy there. And when we actually look at the stats, Langley gets less rain than Vancouver, however it does get more snow. And on a daily basis, Langley typically has slightly higher highs, but it also has slightly lower lows. So basically it's warmer during the day, but colder during the night. Moving on to pro number 4, it's the amenities and shopping. Basically, every amenity you could need is just minutes away.
Unless you're living way out in Salmon River or something.
But Langley really has all the stores and shops you could ever need, and you'll never find yourself having to drive out to Vancouver. It also happens to have one of the highest amounts of restaurants per capita. Some of the hot spots are definitely Willowbrook Mall, the one-way in downtown Langley, and the new shopping mall at Willoughby Town Centre. Overall, there's a good amount of bars, city parks, hiking, regional parks, and rich history in the historic Fort Langley. Additionally, there's great ranking schools, great sports programs, school programs, and a new event center that has everything you need. Langley is home to a diverse selection of restaurants, and you're really going to be able to find something from each and every culture. And if you're looking for a specific suggestion, don't hesitate to reach out and I'd be happy to help. Moving on, pro number 5 is employment. Langley is a central location in a region of nearly 3 million people. Affordable real estate and a great quality of life are two of the biggest things that attract both businesses and residents to the city of Langley. With the regional population projected to double by 2040, the Township of Langley offers clear strategic advantages. Now, if you're looking to purchase a rental property, it is still a great place to invest. However, it is getting tougher to cover all of your costs with your rent. What I will add though is that many areas in Langley are actually getting the same or higher rents than a lot of places in Surrey. And this may come as a surprise to people as it's further away from Vancouver. But yet again, because of all the great things it has to offer and its closeness to the highway, a lot of people are choosing to live here. Moving on to pro number 6, it's the lifestyle. So with lower costs in Vancouver and well-paying jobs, Langley offers a higher standard of living. In a recent Ipsos community survey, citizens said what they like most about the city is that it's centrally located, its proximity to amenities, peaceful neighborhoods, lush green spaces, and community spirit. You get the best of both worlds being in a big city environment, but also so close to nature and agricultural land. And for those looking to get away from the busyness of the city, you're able to head over to Fort Langley, Walnut Grove, or Murrayville, which have a more laid-back way of life. All fantastic communities if you want to raise a family. And moving on to our 7th and final pro, it's the walkability and transit. I do want to preface this though by mentioning that this is only certain communities within Langley. These being Langley City itself, Willoughby, and Fort Langley. These 3 communities are definitely the most walkable and have the best access to transit. There's a fantastic bus system located in Carvolth, which is within Willoughby, and here you have the Carvolth bus exchange. Additionally, all 3 of these communities are close to Highway 1, so you have easy access to go either direction, whether you're going to Vancouver or out to Abbotsford or Chilliwack. And within the communities themselves, there's lots of things to do, see, and places to be. And that's about gonna wrap it up for the pros of living in Langley. But it's a great time to transition as our first con is actually transportation and transit.
Wait a second, didn't he just say that was a pro?
Well, yes, but keep in mind, I did say only in specific communities. Now, if you're living in Brookswood, Murrayville, Walnut Grove, or Aldergrove, it's gonna be much more difficult to get around. Langley's already about a 45-minute drive to Vancouver, and if you do it in peak traffic, it can be significantly longer. And if you're living in any of the communities that I mentioned, you're more than likely gonna have to drive. And if you don't, it's gonna be much harder to get around. So if you have to commute to work on a daily basis, you're gonna have to incorporate driving and traffic into your daily schedule. However, I will mention though that the Langley Park and Ride is an option where you can park your car and take transit to work. This makes it quite convenient for those who either don't want to drive or don't have a car. I personally know several residents that actually prefer this over driving even though they do have a car. But to each their own. Unfortunately, at this point in time, Langley's not yet connected to the Skytrain. So basically, without a car, it leaves you with only the option to bus if you're trying to get to Burnaby or Vancouver. Now, a little secret that you may or may not be aware of is that there is a Langley extension coming and it's proposed for the next 6 or 7 years. But when that final date is going to be is hard to say. However, it's definitely going to get there eventually. Moving on to con number 2, it's the property taxes. So if you do own a property, taxes are typically higher than most of the surrounding cities, such as Vancouver, Surrey, Coquitlam, and Burnaby. But it does kind of make up for it with cheaper housing. What I will mention though is that Langley City is significantly cheaper than the Township of Langley, and this is because they're taxed differently. And just to give you an example, a one-bed condo assessed at $400,000 is going to be about $1,600 in property taxes in Langley City, but closer to $2,500 in the Township of Langley. Moving on to con number 3, it's crime and homelessness. What I do want to mention though is that this crime and homelessness is condensed into a pretty small area. This is more or less the area in and around the downtown core in the city of Langley, and ranging from about 200th to the end of Fraser Highway. There's definitely some pockets within this area that are better and worse than others, but overall this is kind of where the crime and homelessness sits. Now if we look at where Langley ranks among cities in BC with the highest rates of crime, this is how it looks. Langley City comes in at 12th, ahead of the majority of the cities in the Lower Mainland and BC, but the Township of Langley is way further down the list at number 29. In comparison, some of the other cities from the Lower Mainland that you may recognize is Chilliwack at number 10, Vancouver at number 14, Abbotsford at 19, and Surrey at number 22. So I think this helps to illustrate my point that it's only a very small condensed area within Langley itself where the majority of the crime occurs. Not to say it doesn't happen outside of this area, but that's where the majority of it is. Moving on to con number 4, and that's nightlife. So for the most part, all the nightlife activities are pretty much gone. The previous hotspots known as Jimmy Licks and Gabby's have been gone for a little while now. Jimmy Licks was a nightclub just off Fraser Highway across the street from the Willowbrook Mall. So if, like myself, back in your heyday, you were able to go and check out Jimmy Licks, it was always a good time. As for Gabby's, this is the real staple of the nightlife scene in Langley. And it was only just in 2020 that after 34 years of business, they finally had to shut down. Gabby's Country Cabaret was just a few blocks away from the casino and always a place you could get yourself into trouble. It wasn't my forte, as I'm personally not a big country guy. However, if you're into that kind of thing, then you definitely could go and have a hoedown.
Yeehaw!
But with those two establishments now gone, the only place really left is Oak and Thorn. This was previously known as Sharks Club out in Walnut Grove. At least that's what I knew it as back in my party days. But if you are looking to go out and have some fun, this is definitely the spot to go if you're going to stick around Langley. Owned by the JRG Group, they have lots of great food and drinks, and they also have some cool arcade games. So even if you're not looking to go out and party, it's a great spot to stop by during the day. But as I mentioned, overall, Langley isn't a great hub for nightlife. And if you really want to have a great night out, you're probably going to have to head downtown. But there are still a few bars here and there, as well as the casino. So you still can manage to keep yourself entertained. And moving on to my 5th and final con, it's traffic and congestion. Now this isn't all over Langley, it's only in a few certain spots. And those primary areas being 200th and 208th. So if you're trying to get across Langley from one side to the other, you definitely want to avoid these streets during peak times. During rush hour both in the morning and at nighttime, it's an absolute nightmare. And pretty much just gridlock traffic. But if you're traveling during the earliest part, the middle of the day, or later on at night, you're gonna be fine. So living in the community of Willoughby is fantastic due to its proximity to shops and the highway, but if you're trying to leave your house or get home at the wrong time of day, you're out of luck. And that's about gonna wrap it up for this video. But I did mention at the beginning of this video that I do have one surprise for you at the end. And I kinda did give it away during the middle, but let's revisit it. And that's the fact that Langley's getting a Skytrain extension. Currently, it's in the process of getting from King George Station all the way through Fleetwood, and then eventually it's gonna end up around the 203rd and Fraser Highway area in Langley City. Because of this, there's been a huge demand for housing along Fraser Highway where the future Skytrain is scheduled to run. So essentially, anyone that owns property along Fraser Highway where the Skytrain is going to run is in luck, because we're already seeing significant increases in property values with the assumption that the Skytrain will be coming in the near future, and it's only going to continue. And that about does it for my video today. So if you do have any questions or comments, leave them down below and I'll make sure that I get back to you. Do you agree with what I said? Do you disagree? I'd love to hear. And if you did get any value from today's video, I'll ask that you do one thing for me, and that's to smash that like button. And if you're interested in seeing more videos just like this one and other relevant topics in the real estate industry, I suggest you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell so you're notified whenever I put out a new video. And if you're interested in buying, selling, or just learning a little bit more about Langley, scroll down, hit the first link, and book a call with me at your own convenience. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.